All right, so you want to do a deep dive into the Ambani brothers. Buckle up, because we're about to jump into a world of family drama, high-stakes business deals, and enough wealth to make your head spin. Seriously, we're talking more plot twists than a Bollywood movie, and believe me, those guys know how to bring the drama.
And the money involved. We're talking billions upon billions of dollars. This isn't just a family feud. It's about the future of some of India's biggest industries.
Exactly. And your question is a good one. How did Anil Ambani go from being richer than his brother Mukesh to practically broke, while Mukesh became one of the world's wealthiest individuals? Well, to understand that, we have to rewind the clock. Luckily, this Dhruv Rathi video we're diving into is like a goldmine of information. It pulls from biographies like gas wars, old news articles, even court documents.
It's a complex story with a lot of layers, so let's start by going back to the beginning with their father, Dhirubhai Ambani.
The man, the myth, the legend. He went from working at a gas station in the 1960s to building a business empire by the 1980s. This guy was a true entrepreneurial force in India.
Absolutely. Dhirubhai was ambitious and built Reliance Industries into a powerhouse. But in 1986, he suffers a stroke, which really forces him to rethink his plans for the future of Reliance.
Yeah, that'll make you think twice about who's next in line.
Exactly. And this is where Mukesh and Anil, his two sons, come in. Mukesh, the older brother, is often described as being more reserved, more of an operations guy. He's the one working behind the scenes, making sure everything runs smoothly.
And Anil. He's the public face of Reliance, handling the media, building relationships with government officials. Basically, he's the one everyone sees.
It's a classic division of roles in many family businesses, but what's interesting is that there are hints even then that Dhirubhai favors Mukesh. In 1991, Mukesh is made vice chairman, while Anil remains a managing director. This difference in titles might seem small, but it speaks volumes in a family business.
And this is where the family drama really kicks in,
Yeah.
right? We have to talk about Anil's love life. It's straight out of a Bollywood movie. He falls head over heels for Tina Munam, who back then was a huge Bollywood actress. We're talking superstar status.
And their relationship caused quite a stir. Dhirubhai, from what we know, was dead set against the relationship. Gas Wars actually suggests that he may have even used his influence to pressure the enforcement directorate into investigating Tina.
Wait, seriously? That's wild.
Yes, it's true. Caravan magazine wrote an article back in 2015 revisiting the incident. They confirmed that the ED did question Tina, but they couldn't find anything to charge her with. Still, to even think that a father would use that level of power to break up his son's relationship, that's intense.
It really shows how determined Dhirubhai was to keep them apart. But Anil, to his credit, stood his ground. He essentially told his father, it's Tina or nothing. They eventually marry in 1991, defying his father's wishes.
A bold move, especially when you contrast it with Mukesh's marriage to Nita Dalal around the same time. Theirs was a traditional arranged marriage, which seemed to solidify Nita's position as the favored daughter-in-law. Tina, on the other hand, I always seen as an outsider.
Wow, so even back then, you have this dynamic where Mukesh is perceived as the golden child, the one who follows the path laid out for him, while Anil is forging his own way, even if it means clashing with his family.
Exactly. And these early cracks in the family foundation, they only widen from here on out.
Okay, so that brings us to the heart of it all. Dhirubhai's vision for his sons to rule Reliance together. It doesn't quite work out as planned, does it?
It does not, but that, my friend, is a story for part 2 of our deep dive.
Okay, so the stage is set for a real-life Shakespearean drama.
Oh, absolutely.
We've got sibling rivalry, corporate intrigue, and enough money to make your head spin.
Yeah, you could say that again.
Where do we go from here?
Well, Dhirubhai Ambani passes away in 2002.
Okay.
And as expected, Mukesh takes the helm at Reliance.
Right.
But Anil isn't completely out of the picture just yet.
Right, because you can't just push aside someone as ambitious as Anil Ambani,
You're absolutely right.
especially with how their father seemed to favor him early on.
He becomes the second in command, but as you can imagine, the tension between the brothers is palpable.
Yeah, I bet.
It's like watching a pressure cooker about to explode.
So what were the big sticking points? What pushed them to the brink?
Dhruv Rathi highlights a few key areas of conflict in his video.
Okay.
One major point of contention was Mukesh's pet project Reliance Infocom, the telecom venture.
Okay.
Anil felt that Mukesh was using Reliance Industries, their cash cow, to prop up his own venture.
Which, ironically, ends up becoming a massive success for Mukesh later on.
Hindsight is always 20/20, right?
Yeah.
But back then, it was a source of resentment for Anil.
Right.
It wasn't just about the money. It was about feeling sidelined, about Mukesh favoring his own projects over the overall good of Reliance.
So it's that classic power struggle that we see time and time again in family businesses,
Yeah.
except on a much grander scale,
Exactly.
with way more zeros.
And adding fuel to the fire, Mukesh starts bringing in his own people, stacking the management with his allies.
Oh, so it's getting even more tense.
Yeah. This move further isolates Anil and makes him question his position within the company their father built.
And let's not forget about Nita Ambani,
Oh, right.
Mukesh's wife.
Yes.
Remember how she was always seen as the more involved daughter-in-law? Well, now she's taking on a more prominent role in Reliance Infocom, overseeing advertising and branding.
It's another subtle way that Mukesh is consolidating his power.
While Anil is off playing the political game.
Precisely.
Okay.
Anil starts developing strong ties with the Samajwadi Party.
Uh-huh.
This was at a time when they were a significant political force, often at odds with the ruling Congress Party.
And Mukesh hated that.
He did.
Really?
See, Dhirubhai, their father, always believed in maintaining good relationships with all political parties.
Right.
He understood the importance of navigating the complex political landscape of India.
Of course.
But Mukesh saw Anil's close ties to a single, potentially oppositional party as a liability, a threat to their business interests.
So it's not just a difference in personalities, it's a clash of business philosophies.
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
And things really come to a head when Anil decides to run for the Rajya Sabha, which is the upper house of parliament in India.
This is where it gets really interesting for those of us who aren't experts on Indian politics.
To put it simply, the Rajya Sabha is one of the two houses of India's parliament, and it plays a crucial role in the country's legislative process.
Really?
Getting elected to the Rajya Sabha is a big deal, a sign of political clout and influence.
Right.
But there's a catch. When you run for office in India, you have to disclose your assets.
And for someone like Mukesh, who is notoriously private about their wealth, that must have been a nightmare.
It was a major point of contention.
Yeah.
It's like airing your family's dirty laundry, except in this case, the laundry is worth billions of dollars.
So you have this clash of personalities, business strategies, political maneuvering.
It's a recipe for disaster.
And the media, of course, is having a field day with all of this.
Oh, absolutely.
Headlines galore.
The Times of India, one of India's largest newspapers, runs a front-page story in late 2004 about a brothers' feud in a major business group.
No prizes for guessing who they're talking about.
Not at all.
Front page news.
And as if things couldn't get any worse, Mukesh makes a very public blunder.
Uh-oh.
During a business seminar, he accidentally reveals that he dropped out of Stanford.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah.
I thought he was a Stanford grad.
That's what everyone thought, including, it seems, some members of his own family.
Wow.
It was an honest mistake,
Sure.
a slip of the tongue, but it played right into the media's hands.
Oh, I bet.
They portrayed it as further evidence that Mukesh was not the infallible business genius everyone thought he was.
And Anil, being the media-savvy one, probably didn't do much to correct that narrative.
You're catching on. This is where we see that classic dynamic of a family business gone wrong.
Totally.
You have power, money, legacy.
Yeah.
It's a recipe for conflict, even in the best of circumstances.
And with the Ambani brothers, the stakes couldn't be higher. So with all this drama unfolding, does Reliance crumble? Does everything fall apart?
Not quite.
Okay.
External pressure starts to mount.
Right.
Their mother, the Prime Minister of India, even the Finance Minister, they all get involved.
Can you imagine being in that family meeting?
It boggles the mind, doesn't it?
Oh my God.
The weight of these personalities, the pressure they must have been under, it's almost unimaginable.
So how do they resolve this? How do you split up an empire like Reliance?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right.
And it leads us to a truce.
Yeah.
Of sorts.
Okay.
They carve up the Reliance empire, with each brother taking control of specific businesses.
Oh, wow.
But as you might expect, this is just the beginning of another chapter in the saga of the Ambani brothers.
Okay, so Reliance is officially split into like a business divorce,
Yeah, you could say that.
where each brother gets their own slice of the empire.
Right.
Who gets what in this amicable division?
Well, Mukesh gets the more established, safer businesses. He takes control of Reliance Industries, the energy and petrochemicals giant, and IPCL, a major player in the Indian chemical sector.
And Anil?
Anil gets the riskier, potentially more volatile ventures.
Okay.
He gets Reliance Infocom, the telecom company, Reliance Energy, the energy division, and Reliance Capital, the financial services arm.
Which at the time probably seemed like a pretty good deal, right?
It did.
Yeah.
In fact, by 2007, Anil's net worth has tripled.
Wow.
He's worth an estimated $45 billion, practically neck and neck with Mukesh.
Really?
Everyone is thinking, okay, the brothers are good now, right? They've finally settled their differences.
But this is the Ambanist, right? It can't be that simple.
Right.
It's like saying the sun always rises in the east, except in this case, the sun is a multi-billion-dollar empire, and it's never that predictable.
Exactly. And the plot thickens, as it always does in the story.
Okay.
This is where we get into the infamous gas wars. Remember, Mukesh had the gas exploration and extraction business, right?
No, that's Reliance Industries, his main source of energy.
And Anil needed that gas to power his energy ventures.
Okay.
They had an agreement where Mukesh would supply gas to Anil at a specific price, $2.34 per unit.
Okay.
It seems straightforward, right?
Yeah, except when you're talking about the Ambanis, even a few cents difference can mean millions of dollars, maybe even billions, given the scale they operate on.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
And here's where things get truly interesting.
Okay.
The Indian government, for reasons that are still debated today, decided to intervene and set the price of natural gas themselves. This is seen by some as a way to regulate the industry, to ensure that the national resource is shared more equitably.
I get that, but for Anil, it was like getting punched in the gut.
He was furious.
Oh, I bet.
The government decided to set the price at $4.21.
Wow.
Almost double what Anil had been promised.
You can't imagine how that would feel.
Yeah.
He's essentially being forced to pay twice as much for the same resource, all because the government intervened.
And Anil is convinced that Mukesh was whispering in the government's ear, manipulating things to put pressure on him.
Oh, really?
This is where the rivalry really gets personal, the gloves come off, and the fight goes public.
So what does he do?
He starts taking out full-page ads in newspapers, accusing the government of crony capitalism, which is a term that basically means favoring specific companies or individuals through government policies.
Okay.
He's essentially accusing Mukesh and the government of being in cahoots to squeeze him out of the market.
It's a full-blown public relations war.
And then things take a turn for the dramatic, the cinematic, if you will.
Okay, you have to tell me about the helicopter.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
In 2009, a maintenance technician working on Anil's helicopter finds pebbles and debris in the fuel tank.
Oh my gosh.
The suspicion is that someone had deliberately sabotaged the helicopter.
Seriously? This is starting to sound like a James Bond movie.
I know, right? It's hard to believe, but it's a true story. It's never been definitively proven who was behind it, but it does speak volumes about the lengths people will go to in this world.
Right.
Even if it means risking someone's life.
Wow.
And the technician who discovered the sabotage. Sadly, he was found dead by the railway tracks a few days later.
What?
Officially ruled a suicide, but the circumstances surrounding his death were considered highly suspicious.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so talk about high stakes.
This isn't just a business rivalry anymore. It's practically a blood sport.
It felt that way for a while, and Anil's strategy of going public, accusing the government and Mukesh of wrongdoing, doesn't seem to work in his favor.
Uh-oh.
The Supreme Court sides with the government and upholds their decision to set the gas price.
So that's a huge blow for Anil.
A devastating one.
Right.
And it's just the beginning of his downfall.
Oh, no.
This is where things really start to unravel for him.
Okay.
Remember, the 2008 financial crisis hits, and Anil's businesses, the ones that were deemed riskier, are more vulnerable to the economic downturn.
Yeah, you can't just weather a global financial storm with the kind of leverage Anil had built up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Mukesh, with his more stable businesses and deeper pockets, is able to weather the storm relatively unscathed.
Right.
He's actually already planning his next big move, which, as you know, is Reliance Jio, the 4G network that revolutionized India's telecom industry.
Which, again, is ironic because Anil got stuck with the older CDMA technology.
Right.
It's like Mukesh saw this coming, knew that 4G was the future, and was able to position himself to take advantage of that.
It's an interesting point.
Yeah.
Whether it was intentional or just a matter of shrewd business sense, it looks like Mukesh was playing chess while Anil was playing checkers.
So Anil goes from being a multi-billionaire to practically nothing.
Right.
What happened? How did he fall so far so fast?
It's a slow, painful decline.
Okay.
A string of unfortunate events.
Okay.
His telecom company, Reliance Communications, starts to crumble under the weight of debt and what are considered to be some questionable business decisions.
And remember, he was also implicated in that 2G spectrum scam.
That's right.
Right.
Anil was questioned, but he was eventually cleared of wrongdoing.
Yep.
It's a complicated issue involving alleged corruption and the allocation of radio spectrum licenses.
Right.
It's one of those things that could easily sink a company, especially in a competitive market.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to Anil's company.
Wow.
Reliance Communications was in a free fall.
Oh, no.
He tried to merge with other companies. He tried to sell off assets. He even went back to Mukesh for help, but by then it was too late.
Wow, what a fall from grace.
And in 2019, facing potential jail time for unpaid debts, he's forced to admit in London court that he's essentially worthless.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is a cautionary tale, isn't it?
Yeah.
Even with immense wealth and privilege, a few wrong decisions, a little bad luck, and a fiercely ambitious brother can change your destiny.
It's a stark reminder that in the world of big business, power dynamics are constantly shifting.
Right.
And fortunes can change in the blink of an eye.
It makes you wonder, though, could the brothers have built a stronger empire together? Or were their ambitions always destined to clash, making their rivalry inevitable?
That, my friend, is the question for the ages.
What a story. From gas stations to telecoms, family feuds to helicopters with pebbles in the fuel tank, this deep dive has had it all.
It really shows that sometimes truth is stranger than fiction.
It sure does. And for anyone listening out there, remember that even in the world of billion-dollar deals, the most valuable things aren't always measured in rupees, or dollars for that matter.
Well said.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into the Ambani brothers.
Until next time.